Next up on the Diddy docket, Diddy appeared in federal court on April 18th to determine whether or not the judge would allow the trial to be delayed for 2 months per his attorney's request. The judge denied the defense's motion to delay the start of the trial. It is still set to start May 5th. This is after Diddy faces 2 new charges of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution of unnamed victim 2 filed earlier this month. According to USA Today, the judge stated to the court that there was no reason to think the defense did not have sufficient time to put a defense together, so the trial will move forward with its original May 5th date. There were other issues discussed during this 2-hour hearing. The judge granted that the alleged victims 2, 3, and 4, as named in the indictment, had the right to use a pseudonym throughout the trial, explaining that this is common practice with sexual violence and trafficking cases. He noted the importance of treating alleged victims with dignity and privacy, and that there was no clear reason why names, addresses, and places of employment should be made public. Diddy's attorneys did argue against allowing the victim to use a pseudonym, stating that they were already out in the public doing interviews without Combs. But the prosecution argued, however, just because they gave interviews did not mean that they discussed private details of what happened or gave their addresses or places of employment to the public. The next issue that was addressed and both parties were able to come to an agreement about was concern about potential jurors disclosing their own experiences with sexual assault and violence in written questionnaires and being afraid of where those questionnaires would go to. So they reached a compromise. Questionnaires will include a box that allows potential jurors to choose whether they would prefer to speak about their experiences verbally or in writing. The last issue that was discussed at this hearing is whether or not the testimony of a clinical and forensic psychologist by the name of Dr. Dawn Hughes will be allowed at trial. The prosecution wants to admit her as a blind expert, meaning that she has not spoken to the alleged victims, nor does she have any specifics of their experiences, but more to discuss certain terms, subjects that the potential jurors may not be familiar with. Of course, the defense argues against this, saying that since she has no direct contact with the alleged victims, that her testimony would be useless and meaningless. The judge did not rule on that matter and will take that up at a later date. Quick side note, attorney Brian Steele, who represented rapper Young Thug in his own long-running legal battle in the RICO trial, joined Diddy's defense team and did appear in court with him at this most recent hearing. Quick thoughts about this particular hearing. I'm not surprised that the judge denied the defense's request to postpone the trial. The defense brought the motion because there were additional alleged victims added to the indictment, but same accusations, which means that you have the same defense to each alleged victim. So you have plenty of time to address each additional victim with the same defense that you already had started mounting in preparation for this trial. Secondly, I do agree that victims in these type of cases should be able to use a pseudonym, that their personal information, their real names, addresses, and places of employment should not be made public, especially in this trial, which is going to be so publicized and so big that it is a way to respect their dignity and privacy. So let me know what you think about the judge's ruling on these matters. Until next time, because I feel like it's going to be something else that pops up before this May 5th trial.